Okay, today we're going to be doing a true crime blog or story. And this one is about the Wineville chicken coop murders. So in the picture, here is a picture of the chicken of the house, the land before it was changed. So this was owned by Gordon Northcott. And I think he built it 1925, something like that. So this is in Los Angeles. This literally is in the sticks. Now today, Wineville has actually changed its name because of the horrific, crime that happened there. In 1926 to 1928. So yeah, it's changed now. It's there only used to be like this house, and then like there was another house a couple of miles away. But because of all the things that were happening in this house, like all the basically Gordon Northcott, he was living with his nephew at the time in 1925, and for 3 years this boy was abused, beaten, you name it, that's what happened to him. And neighbours said they would hear screams, and they could tell that something was going on in this house. So they could tell what things were going on in this house, but in them times in Los Angeles, it was actually common. It wasn't uncommon for people to beat children, and that's what it was like basically in the 1920s. Especially like if they was your own children, like they would literally turn a blind eye to it and just not get involved. Or anything to do with being gay or anything like that, they considered that they would just keep out of it basically. So this actually did cause quite a few of the neighbours to move away because they just didn't want to witness it anymore, and it was just absolutely horrific. It must have been horrific for them. So this is a picture of Gordon Northcott, and yeah, basically he was just a sadist. He was a narcissist. He was just absolutely vile person. He told his parents basically that he killed a kid in self-defense, and basically his mother sided with him. No matter what he did, before when he was first born, his mother didn't want him, and then she basically grew obsessed with him, and people were saying that apparently that she was dressing up like a girl because the child before Gordon was born was actually a boy, and he actually passed away, and they were really cut up about it, and they really didn't want any more kids after that. As far as they were concerned, they had a boy and he died, and he was like the perfect boy. But later on, she actually grew to Gordon, and he couldn't do anything wrong. She would always have his back basically. So his father just learned to keep his mouth shut basically, because whatever his mum said goes basically. And even if though he thought it was probably wrong, what he'd done, he couldn't say anything because he would get beatings from his wife. So basically the ranch was torn down. Well, some of it was torn down. The chicken coop where they did the murders was burned down basically, or smashed up or whatever. But the house still remains there, and it's just really, really weird. It's just really, really, really weird how it's still standing there. But that now there's like other houses there on that street, one's next door to each other. So, but I don't understand the mentality of wanting to live in a house where so much, pain and grief, and just plain evil happened there, But this person, they got life imprisonment. His mother actually did take place in some of the killings, and apparently she said she admitted she killed Walter Collins, which explains, why he was never found. His mother just kept searching for him until she died, basically, in the 1960s. And just a very, very sad story that, the mother always just kept searching for her son. And even though she probably thought in the back of her mind, she did actually come to a point where she was asked to come to the prison, where the guy that abducted her child was going to tell her the truth, and when it came down to it, he just basically led her on a wild goose chase and didn't tell her what had happened, which was, must have been so infuriating for her. And basically, so he was there for 2 years. So he was sentenced to, he had the death penalty, basically. So before he had the death penalty, he was sentenced to 2 years in prison. So, I thought that was good, because it didn't give him a lot of time, but it did actually give him a lot of time, a bit of time just to reflect on what he'd done to those poor boys. And that, but apparently he never did until his execution in 1930. So I reckon he was in complete denial of what he'd done, and he just thought it was right and all that. And then, when it came down to it, so he was acting like a big man, and that, it was okay for him to do all this stuff to these children, and basically, and then when it came down to his execution, he literally wailed like a baby. He didn't want to, see the gallows, so that he asked to be blindfolded. He asked the prison staff, is it going to hurt? And that apparently they said, yeah, probably. You're going to die. So there was 13 steps leading up to this, platform that was going to hang him, where he was going to get hanged, basically, and which explains, in the film Changeling, there's a part in there when he says 13 steps, like that, and so in every single step they literally had to push him up each one, because he didn't want to walk up there on his own accord. They literally had to force him to go up there, and also I read like the noose, basically the rope where they used to hang people. It had to be stretched for 2 years before it was going to be used, basically. So the noose they used, it failed, basically. It was supposed to have broke his neck, but it didn't. And there's different things people were saying. Some people were saying 11 minutes, some people were saying 13 minutes. So it's around that number, how long it took for him to die. And he literally got strangled to death. I thought that was, that was quite a good justice. Like, even the noose was against him. The noose didn't want him to have an easy way out. The noose didn't want him to, have an easy death. It wanted them to suffer. And he was like literally pleading for his life, scared out of his head, So he obviously had some sort of understanding of what those boys went through while he was, abusing them and all that. So, which I thought was quite good. Karma, I believe in karma. If you do something bad, something's going to happen to you. It might not be today, it might not be tomorrow, it might be in a year's time or whatever, but it will always come back to you. So even the actual platform and noose was against him, and it made him suffer to the very end. And I just don't understand why people would want to live in that house. And it does get attention every now and then. Some people will go up to the house and want to, film it or whatever. But I don't know how they would want to live there, with everything that's gone on there.